guys, welcome back to Building with me. We're going to return to our beloved business school and see where we end up this time. Last time we were working on the doors and the windows and the wall paint and kind of going into creative style and finishing off some of the more minor details, I guess. And now you're gonna see that I am going to be fiddling around a little bit with the placement of those doors, because those doors were in fact annoying me. Two of them were too many, and one of them wasn't enough, but I did end up going with just one door on each side, because we do have two entrances, so one door on each side, it still equals two doors, so we're fine. We know we're fine. I added some more windows to fill up the space, and it did end up looking amazing. So that's how we got there, I guess. I don't know what to say right now, guys. It's been a while since I've recorded the first two parts of this series, so it's kind of like seeing it all again for the first time for me as well right now, and seeing what I was doing at that time, and I guess what was going through my head during the building process, because it was probably a lot. It's kind of an involved process if you've ever built something of this scale in The Sims 3, like a university, or like an area of a city that has to match, or that like aesthetically needs to be like pleasing and has to be like kind of cohesive all together, then you kind of get what I'm talking about, right? That's what I'm going for here. So as you can see, I'm going in and out of creative style to get those doors working. And the problem here was that I really wanted to go into the woods category for the inside of those doors and get them on a really nice wooden texture, and I couldn't reach the woods category because my recording application I was using at the time, it was right over that area and I couldn't get around it. So I just ended up going back into the miscellaneous patterns and just choosing a more neutral color. I do end up thinking that it looks better out that way, but it's kind of a funny thing if I do look back on it right now that I was struggling to reach that part. You could really see it happening. Now, a couple things are probably going to start happening right now. The building elements by Boring Bones are really going to start coming into play right now. Those are going to be, they have been a pretty, let's say, essential part of building this entire university, actually. So a huge thank you and a shout out to him for that, actually, because this entire university wouldn't look as good as it does if it weren't for those building blocks that he made and provided for us. So thank you, Boring Bones, for that. He was pretty nice in the DMs as well, so nothing bad to say there. And right now you can see I'm trying to determine how I'm going to use my modular building elements in this build. I'm gonna end up going with a pretty traditional and pretty thought out way of decorating this building on the outside. It's going to be pretty similar to the rest of them. So the trim that I'm using right now is going to be the trim that goes around the entire building. And you can probably see right now I'm doing it. I'm going around the entire building. Oh gosh. Well, I'll keep quiet for a couple minutes here. Okay, like a couple seconds. As much as you can oh my gosh, can I even talk? As much as you can expect from me, really. I'm in a talkative mood today, so I guess you'll have to wait and see. You see that I'm getting in trouble here with that modular building element, so I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, screw this, delete it and get rid of the ones I've already placed, and just eyedrop tool the part of the fencing that I did get correct, like the white at the front. I do just end up using the eyedropper tool on that one, and that's when I go all around the building. So that's when I'm going to shut up for you, so you can hear what's happening in the game. So, I'm already going to start speaking again because, well, of course I am. Just to get a couple things straight here. I'm already seeing what I've changed in the future, what is different right now, because these builds, I mean, with all builds, when you're working on them and when you keep going and start other buildings, you tend to go back and forth and get back to this building, to another building, and adding elements and changing a couple things up here and there just to make it all more cohesive. And what I am going to add right now here is definitely at the bump outs that you saw me going around earlier. There, you see me? Those bump outs? You see them, right? There they are. At both sides of the buildings. They do have diagonal walls, so the ending of like the fencing that I'm using is quite abrupt. But because this is a rabbit hole building, I do end up going back much later. Never in these videos actually, it just happens on another one of my building sprees, I think. I do end up going back and just extending those trims by just one and going actually into the building itself, technically speaking, just so that it doesn't abruptly cut off at that diagonal wall. That was one thing that was kind of annoying me. But also, as you can see right now, my game was freezing up and really throwing a fit. I don't know why. I have noticed that specifically when I'm in the gates section in build mode, that's where some of the lagging happens, especially when I like try to use the eyedropper tool. So I press the little E button to go to the eyedropper tool, and if I'm in fences, then ooh, that's a big problem. My Sims game just can't handle that. So right now you can see me move objects on. My cheat is there, so I can put the corner pieces for this trim all around the building. And like I said, this is a pretty repetitive process. You can see that I'm going to be having to do this just for the whole way around, basically. So once again, I'll shut up and let you enjoy this, and you can see that I am having a little bit of trouble getting that trim to getting that trim to cooperate with me, but we do get there in the end. So I'll shut up now. So guys, here I am, back again. We're going to find out together what I'm gonna do next here, because like I said, it's been a while since I've been recording these. The first two videos were like back to back, and the recording I'm doing right now is like maybe 2 weeks later. So I mostly forgot. I forgot most of what I was doing, so it's as much of a surprise to me as it is to you, I guess. But I do actually remember what's going to happen now. So the bottom trim to this building is going to get added. It's gonna be the one that I always end up picking for all of the university buildings in this district, you could call it. I was considering doing other options, but I did just end up going the vanilla way, I guess you could call it, and just using the trim that I was already familiar with, which is the one that I'm going to be doing right now. That's the one I'm doing. Not the bottom one, the other one. You'll see what I mean in a few seconds. So that's the one I'm going to end up using, not on the level I'm doing it right now. It's just the one I'm just looking at the possibility and seeing that it is still just the best looking one in my opinion. But the problem with this little fence piece is that it is nearly impossible to select it for create a style, or to select it with the eyedropper tool. And then I remembered the old trick I had to use back in the administration building, where I had the exact same problem, and I kind of stumbled upon a solution, you could say, where you just kind of build a normal fence, like one tile of a normal fence. You will see me doing it in a second, and then you'll understand what I'm saying here. So what I end up doing is I just pick another like basic fence, and then I just take the trim I want to use and build it basically at the corner of of the basic fence, and then it is selectable. So you see what happened there? That's the trick to using this one, I suppose. It was otherwise just impossible to select it or to go into create a style and edit it. So that's what I ended up doing. So now I got it to the white that I wanted it to be. I'm going to go around the entire side of all of this building once again. And once again, I'll shut up while I do this, so you can at least enjoy a couple minutes of peaceful silence without me talking over it. Have fun, guys. And now that I was completely done with all of the sides of the building, I just removed the original fence little solution I made, because that was frankly just the quick and dirty solution to it, I guess. Same thing is gonna happen here. I'm gonna go in search of the matching corner piece, and I'm gonna add it to every corner of this building and match it again with the white. It's a pretty simple and repetitive process at the moment, and you're gonna see what I meant when I said that right now I'm in the fence category and I selected the eyedropper tool and it froze. And that always happens when you're in the gates category for some reason. At least for my game it does. I don't know why. I don't know if this is just another quirk of The Sims 3. It's just something new I've noticed. The last few weeks, I guess you could call it, because I've been in this building streak for a while now. Yeah, you can see this was going way more smooth than the first floor was. The building pieces and the cornerstones were much more cooperative with me here, so I could just go around with all the original white and just get it all done in one go. And there you have it. The trims are added. Now, the next thing I'm probably going to be adding now is the columns, or at least not really columns. I guess you could call them more like wall elements. First, I'm going back into to build mode and finding the core bell that I used in the administration office for those bump outs, so that they could match exactly. Because that is the kind of girl I am. So I went into buy mode and found those core bells and added them back in, so they could be nice and matchy with the administration office over on the other end of the what's it called? Square, the quad. I do end up building a quad there. It's already finished and I didn't film it, so sorry not sorry, I guess. That's gonna be something for another day. Now, like I was saying, I think the next thing is going to be... Oh no, nope. Sometimes I surprise even myself. You can see me trying to decide if I'm going to go for the old brick look on the long side of these buildings, on like the skinny side where I'm looking at right now. You could see that I was trying to decide if I was going to stay with the white in the middle, if I was going to go all the way with brick, if I was going to go all the way with the white. I do end up going with all the way brick, and it worked out for the better, I think, because once I add the columns that I was talking about earlier, the columns that are really more wall elements in this case, they're going to be more of a detail. Like, they're also going to be corner pieces, like you see me doing it right now. I add them to the corners, and I add them in a couple of select places where I think they make sense in the build. So, for example, right there, where I placed the core bells earlier, I thought that made a lot of sense to place them right where they end up being. I do still have to create a style to make them match with the rest of the trim, but that ends up happening, so give it some time and we'll see it happening. Over here, I was considering doing this, like kind of framing the door with those columns I was using. I don't end up doing it like this. I think I ended up moving them further apart, so like at the ends of the windows, to make kind of like a bigger frame, I guess you could say, so it doesn't really look that cramped. Like the door, otherwise the door looked just like it was being choked to death by two columns on either side, and that's not the look I was going for. So I continue with that, and first, well, see who is getting smarter here. I'm first going in and now restyling all of those columns so they can match, and then I can just go ahead and eyedrop tool those and continue on with placing those details onto the walls. But first, it seems like I'm going to be editing the original columns for holding up the roof. The actual columns that are doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's funny, I guess. To me it is funny. So I'm kind of seeing what I like best for these. I do end up going with a very neutral, very like, I think this is it, basically like a beige, you know, nothing too special about them. So yeah, I do it for all 4 of them because, as we know, 2 entrances, so all the work is doubled. But we should be going back and getting those columns again. There we go. And now we're gonna get the real work done. This is always the most fun part, to me at least, in a build like this, because when you start a build, it's just a shell. It's just, you start with a pretty boring building, to be honest. It's the details that make it stand out, and to me, these are the details that make it so important that they do be added, because otherwise you just have a square building. That's basically what I'm trying to say here. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but I do think you can understand where I'm coming from with this. The only annoyance here is, as you can see, sometimes it does this and sometimes it doesn't, but like right there you can see if I just place those where the grid wants me to place them, then they turn dark, and that's because the column at that point thinks it's inside the building where there is no lighting at that point. And you see right there it had no issues, and then right when I wanted to go next, under those cool bells again, I had to go and alt place them again, because otherwise they wouldn't be white, they wouldn't be lit up correctly, the light would not make any sense, and that's kind of frustrating. I think this is another just a Sims 3 quirk, not really the fault of the column itself, just probably something about like the coordinates of the lots or whatever. I don't even know. I'm not even gonna try and think about that too much. Just you see that I'm going around and around, and I'm going to add them to all the corners, so including the ones at the top of the building here where it ends in this beautiful statuesque little roof. Excuse me. And as you can see, I do, like, sometimes it cooperates, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of frustrating that there is not much I can do about it. Like right there, it goes perfectly. Right there, no it doesn't. I have to alt place it. It doesn't make any sense, and it's not the end of the world, of course, but it's just annoying. Only to then find out that you have to alt place some of the columns and not just be able to plop them down and be done with it. It will be so much easier if they were just all easy to work with. So like the basic structure of where I wanted my columns to be is done at this point, and now I'm just deciding on a couple more things. What I do here is how it ends up looking. Actually, I changed the uppermost level to the brick to really make that roof stand out a little bit more, because if it was just the white concrete down there, like right underneath that roof piece, it just it didn't quite give it like the effect that I was looking for. So right here you can see that we're going forth and I'm putting those columns where they end up staying. I think that was the best place for them because it kind of frames the space, like the entrance to these buildings, perfectly, because like the stairs that for the entrance and like the terraced area in front of it is quite big, so to have the walls have kind of these points of separation where you can say like, okay, like right here is the entrance, and on the other sides of that space we have some room to play with, I guess you could call it that. Over here you can see I run into the same problem again. originally on the first side where I did this, I had no problems with just placing them, and then here I had to alt place them because otherwise they would turn dark. And it's so funny to me how annoying it is to me right now just looking at it, because in the meantime it has been a while since I've built this, like a couple weeks at least. Like I've added a couple more lots already to this world, and it's out of mind, out of sight. So it's just funny to look back on now. So the next thing I'm gonna do when I am actually completely done with the columns and the trims and all of the stuff that the building itself is gonna get. The only thing left now to do is adding the details for around the building, not the building itself, but like I said earlier in an earlier video, the flower beds and what I was going to do with that one tile of space around the entirety of the building. So here you see me trying to decide if I was going to use a fence. I mean, I definitely wanted to use a fence, but I didn't know which direction I wanted to go with it, because I didn't want to use the same one that the flower beds already have in the center of the picture. You can see it right there. So I'm getting close to what I end up choosing now. The small piece, yep, there we go. That's the one I end up picking. I picked that one, and I immediately going to create a style and make it match. The brick has to match, and then I probably even go in and slightly edit the color of the concrete on top so it matches the wall better, and then like the iron parts maybe make it a little bit lighter. I don't know what I did there, but I did make a really nice like fence piece here, and I do think I even saved the preset that I made here into so that I could access it for my other builds and not have to repeat making it over and over again, because I do think this is a really good fence that has a lot of uses, and I did end up using it in my other builds as well. As you maybe know if you come from Tumblr now, I already built the annex and stadium. That's where like the university sims go to graduate when they're done with their studies, I guess. So, and I do end up using that same fencing and that same preset over there for a couple flower beds, a couple like tree sort of placements. You can see that I am going for a couple more like structured pieces, because if I did this entire fence in just one long line, then it would have just been all of that iron and no in-betweens, and I didn't want that. So we end up going by square, 2 squares, 2 squares, 2 squares. You can see it happening right now. It kind of matches also, like it definitely matches the tile pattern that is already existing in the world, so it makes sense in my head. Is that like an OCD thing to say? Maybe, but it does. It makes sense. So now that I'm here, but probably, the video is going to end here, guys, because this is me setting up for my progress picture. So the last thing you'll see me do is just get the angle right and then open up my reshade profile and enabling my heavier options, and then going back and taking my pictures. So next time I'll probably be adding the bushes and adding the shrubbery around the outside of the build, and we'll see what happens. We'll see where it takes us, because to be quite honest, I don't remember either. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Sorry if I've been all over the place lately. I wouldn't call this an ASMR style video anymore. This is just me babbling at you about a build that I did weeks ago. So if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. You can always leave. Feel free to do that. But anyways, it doesn't matter. As long as I'm having fun, I'm all good. So thank you for being here. If you've made it this far, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I love you so much. See you next time, guys.